Today, we are going to take the classic Operation game. And the game is fun, as it is, but we're going to bring it up to the 21st century. Instead of just the nose lighting up and it vibrates, we're going to make it scream, yell, threaten to sue you for medical malpractice, ask for more anesthesia, pretty much whatever you want it to yell, or say, or scream, or threaten. And that is the best part about this. It is completely customizable, and it is very easy. You'll just need a microphone and your computer or tablet to record the audio, but we'll get to that in a little bit. Let's take a quick look at it here, and then we'll go ahead and we'll go through the schematic and how this is all put together and then how to upload your MP3s to it. But basically, we're just taking a speaker, and I just have this little 3D printed grill I made. You don't have to. You could just hot glue gun the speaker on there. I just thought it looked nicer to have that. And it's just a small little tiny speaker that was salvaged out of like an old transistor radio or something like that. Then what we have is we left in the original vibrator because the thing will still vibrate and the light and the nose still worked. If your light doesn't work, you can replace it with an LED. Piece of cake to do. Then to control the whole thing, we are using a Arduino. I have a Pro Mini here. A Nano would probably also work. I don't think you'd want to use an Uno or anything that big because you are kind of limited to space as what you can put underneath of it. Then I have one of these little MP3 players. There's a variety of them. This is a JQ, is it 65 something? We get over the schematic. I'll have the exact part number for that. Then we just need a little transistor to activate the vibrator, and that's hidden right here. We need a little transformer, a one-to-one audio transformer. And I'll explain to that when we get to the schematic. It has to do with how the output from the MP3 player works. To connect to what we have here is our little amplifier. And once again, when we get over to the schematic, I'll have the part number for the amplifier I used, but there's dozens and dozens of different ones you could use. You could even use, was that an LM386 chip, put together your own small amplifier. Now this does have an amplifier in it, but it's not very loud at all. It's very quiet. I would recommend adding an amplifier. You could do it without it. It's not going to be very loud at all, and that's one of the more entertaining things about this is you can hear it. I mean, it's not blasting your windows out, but it's not real quiet. Then for the power source, I just went ahead and set it up for plugging one of your wall warts into it. You could run batteries, but you're going to be looking at a good-sized battery pack because we are powering the whole thing off at 12 volts, and we're using a couple different voltages here. And that's why I have to power the the Arduino and the MP3 player. We are powering off 5 volts, so I got a little 5 volt regulator that's underneath this little heat sink. And then this runs on 12 volts. This is the vibrator. And the reason I went with 12 volts is because it just bursts really quick, so it's not going to burn the motor out. And then the amplifier runs between 9 and 12. So I just went ahead and put it at 12 and then turned the volume control on it down just a little tiny bit. Now, as you can see, I soldered everything together on one of these boards. You could go ahead and construct this on one of these solderless breadboards. And because I used header pins on mine so I can pull these in and out to be able to reprogram them and stuff, it would come out to about the same height if you use the solderless breadboard, and you could just glue that on here and then stick the components on. So if you're not very good at soldering, the only thing you'd have to worry about soldering is you do have to solder 2 little connections in here, and I'll have some pictures on that. We'll cover that after we look at the schematic itself. We'll cover that. It's pretty easy just to open this up, and we got to change a couple things in there. So, all right, you've waited this long. Why don't we try it out? Now, I've only got, I believe I put like 2 or 3 different audio MP3s I recorded them myself, and then I used an audio program and changed the voice a little bit so it sounded a little better. But and also I set the vibrator and the light in here. It's random on how long it'll come on. So let's go ahead and set it off. Obviously, because I only have, I do believe it's 3 different audios on here, it is going to repeat a lot.
I'm suing you for medical malpractice.
There we go. Now he's threatening to sue you. Go. Let's go over to the workbench, and I'll zoom the camera in. Actually, we already discussed that. We'll go ahead and we'll look at the schematic and how this is put together. And then when we get to the part of taking apart the vibrator, we'll go to the workbench and take a look at that. And then we'll go into the Arduino IDE, look at the sketch on this. The only thing that you will have to do any changing with is you will need to know how many MP3s you put on here, and you'll set that in the sketch in where it picks the random number when it gets triggered. And so you need to have, if you've got a number that's greater than what it's programmed for, it won't do anything. And then we'll go over how to actually load the MP3s on this particular module. You can use others. You could go ahead and stop this video here and redesign this all yourself. I have noticed, I did some research, and I did not find anybody else on YouTube that has done this so far. If they have, it just didn't come up when I did the search, but I looked. But all right, let's get over to the computer, take a look at that. I'll catch you there in just a moment. Okay, I've got the schematic opened up here. And as you can see, this isn't horribly complicated. It looks, you know, maybe a little harder when you look at it. But when you look at the schematic here, you can see there's not really a whole lot of connections. So let's just start with the voltages we're using. Originally I was going to run 9 volts. I'm sorry, I forgot to change that up there. You could try 9 volts, but sometimes you just might not get enough output for the current stuff pulling through the regulator, because this circuit actually draws a lot more than you'd think. Running that amplifier, the MP3 player, the vibrating motor, the Arduino, the stuff does add up. But I just have just a regular 5 volt voltage regulator. Those little, they kind of look like a bigger transistor. You'll just need one of them. I forget, I'll put a picture of it right here so you can see what they look like. Then you'll just need 2 capacitors, 1 microfarad, and you just have one going between the input and ground and the output and ground, and that just stabilizes it. Then of course we got our Arduino Pro Mini. Pro Mini works great. You could go ahead and use a Nano. That would work just as well. I would try to stay away from Uno because that's just going to start taking up a lot of room underneath. And a Lily pad, I don't know if that would handle doing this. You could give it a shot. If it works, hey, leave a comment. Let me know. All right, and I'm using the 5 volt version of the Arduino Pro Mini as well. I do know they make a 3 volt version. Go with the 5 volt. It's going to make things a lot easier to do here. And from there, we have the MP3 player, and it's a JQ6500. And this has built-in onboard storage. That's why I went with it. I'll have links. Look in the description below. You'll find a link to this project's webpage where you can get the schematic and print it out. There'll be a parts list, also links to where you can get these if you don't have them. So just look in the description below. And I will also have on there, I already did a video on the JQ6500s just by themselves, how to set it up and add the MP3. So I'll have a link to that instead of going through and redoing it here. So it's super easy to do. You can skip about the first half of the video, just shows how to hook it up to manually trigger it. You just want to go into the part, the last half, where I show how to actually load the MP3s onto it. Then from there, we are using, there's a mono output and a stereo output. You want to stay away from the stereo output. The stereo output has no amplification. And I tried running it through this little amplifier here off of that, and you still couldn't hear it very loud. I mean, there is like zero amplification. Through the mono, there is a small bit of amplification. If you were using little earbuds, it'd be fine off of that. You'd be able to hear this really good. But we want to have an amplifier to have our little mini loudspeaker. But with how this amplifier is set up, you have to run it through a 1-to-1 transformer, because if you run the speaker ground to ground, it won't work. We have to isolate it. So it has to be run through a 1-to-1 transformer. Super inexpensive, easy to find. If you got some old junk computers laying around, look for the old 56K modems. If there's a little transformer on there, 99.9% of the time, it's a 1-to-1 audio transformer. So you'll need one of them. Then we'll take the output from that, and we'll bring it into the TDA 2030A, and that's the amplifier I went with. It's a small, off the bat, I'll have to flash it on the screen. I can't remember offhand what the output is on it, but it's enough for this little speaker, more than enough. So I'll have it here somewhere on the screen right now, putting how many amperage output that is. And then of course the output we just run to our little speaker. Let's see, then over here off of digital pin 10, we are using that to activate the vibrator, which is run through the 2N222 transistor to activate that, because we do not want to try, you know, operating this off the Arduino. It's just not gonna work. Plus we need more voltage. We're running the 12 volts to it, and beans, we're just flashing it off and on really quick. The 2N2222 isn't going to fry. If we tried running it for a long amount of time, I don't know if it'd handle the amount of amperage we're pulling for sure. But this also controls the light, but it's all wired together in a box. And in just a moment here, we'll get to how that is put together. So let's see here. Then we've got the input. That's that little clip that you use to get the game pieces off the operation board. And I have that to digital pin 2. You can just see here I labeled it probe. And then the base of the game, and we'll be connecting to that. I'll show you in that vibrating module where those lights up, you're going to have to pull out. There is a little tab on there that pushes in and connects to the grounding plate on the operation game, and that is just connected to ground. All right, let's see here. On the RX and TX, because that's how we're communicating from the Arduino to the JQ6500 MP3 player here. You don't go from TX to RX on the Arduino and RX to TX. We are using the software serial to do this. It's just how it was set up with the examples that came with it. So I just went ahead and used that. Everything works good. Just put a 1K resistor between pin 9 on the Arduino and the RX pin on the JQ6500. All right, I don't think I missed anything. So let's go ahead and look at, this is real simple to do, how to modify the, if I can get it to open up there, how to modify the operation game. So what we have here, I circled it here, and you can see the black arrow. You want to take the tabs out here, the ones that are right underneath where the nose would poke out. Do not cut these ones off. I just used a Dremel and went around and cut the very top off so that the tabs are gone. Because if you cut this side out and try to pull it out, you're going to rip that piece of cardboard that the nose goes into. So you'll want to cut this, and we put it back together. We'll just use a few drops of hot glue. And that's also what I used to hold the circuit board down. It was right here, and the amplifier over here. I just used hot glue to hold all that in. Simple enough. So you'll want to cut them off, and then you can pull it out. You can see I have it off here. And then there's a little cover plate that comes off. There was 2 or 3 screws. Actually, I think it was 3. Take that off, and this is what you'll see. We'll move on. And what you do first is you got to take these 2 where the batteries would normally go. See here, I already unsoldered the black one. That's our ground. And in here, there's a little capacitor. That's our positive, so you'll want to unsolder that one as well. And you can see here in this picture, I have them both removed. Move on. Then what I did is I took and I drilled a hole right here and right here with my Dremel, and then soldered the wires on. I just used a white wire here for the ground, and then at that end of that little capacitor, I put the red wire. I had a red and white twin lead wires. I went ahead and used that, made things simple to keep color coordinated, so I knew positive and negative. And then ran them through. Then next after that, click on the next one here. This little tab right here, you see, there's a wire soldered to that. Unsolder that wire, and then you can see here I soldered a wire on. It's this orange wire, and ran it through the same hole. This is what goes to the ground. This wire here will go to the ground of our project, for, like, you know, the common ground of the whole project, basically. So that's what that wire is for. And then you can see on this is the underside of it where the batteries would have went in, and I tied a knot there so that they can't get pulled through and ripped out. And then after you do that, you can put the battery cover on, unless, you know, I got mine at the thrift store. Maybe yours is missing the cover. If it is, not really a big deal. Maybe just put a piece of duct tape over it, you know, so that nothing's getting snagged on it. Then, of course, this is what everything looks like after it's been screwed back together. And then if you need your nose doesn't light up, just replace that bulb that's in there. That's an old bulb. I'm not sure if the newer versions of this have LEDs in them or not. If you are swapping, just make sure that you put a current limiting resistor in there. It'll work if you're running this on 12 volts. Just make sure you put the appropriate resistor in there for the current limiting. If you're using 9 volts, once again, that'll be a different resistor. It all depends on what, you know, the LED you use as well. If in doubt, trial and error. You might pop a couple real cheap LEDs, but start with high resistance and work your way down. Otherwise, just learn Ohm's law. All right. Then at the very beginning, I showed you that little speaker grill. This is it right here. I 3D printed it, and this is the speaker I used. And then I just took my hot glue gun and put a couple drops of glue in there and glued it in. And then, once again, go back. I just took and used a couple drops of hot glue to glue gun the that breadboard in there. And if you use the solderless breadboard, there's a sticky pad on those. And over here, that would probably fit in better. You just have to run a little more wire. Otherwise, you could peel that off. If it ain't sticking very good, peel that off. And then put some hot glue on there and glue it on here. Just remember to put the hot glue on the plastic, not the paper, because the paper will tear through and it'll ruin what the other side looks like. All right, we need to get over and take a look at the Arduino sketch real quick. I know this is starting to get long, but there is a lot of stuff to cover in this, and this is a fun project. If you've stuck through this far, you are probably going to build one of these. And the first time I showed this to anybody, they almost fell over laughing. They'd never seen anything like it. So, all right, let's go and take a look at the Arduino sketch right now, and I'll show you how to change the value for how many MP3s that you load in. And then I'll also discuss real quick on how to upload how to record, the audio for your MP3s for free. So, all right, I'll catch you there in just a second. Okay, I've got the Arduino IDE brought up here. And as you can see, the sketch that operates this is actually pretty easy. We were really only doing one read, and then we're just telling the MP3 player to play. I wouldn't change anything on here, honestly, except I'll show you in just a second for the number of MP3s that you have. I would put this together the way I have it on the schematic, otherwise you might start running into problems. Now, for the library, the software serial, if you don't have that, you just go under Sketch here, and you go under your include libraries, manage libraries, and it brings up where you can search for different libraries to add. Just type in software serial, you'll find that, download that. Software serial, I don't know if they also include it in the library for the MP3 player. It might be there as well, so maybe you could try. I have it because I've used it for other stuff as well. But you'll also need the JQ6500 library. And just go once again under the sketch, add or include library, manage libraries. Go under there and just type in JQ6500. And at the date of recording this, there's only one that shows up. It's the top one. So you'll just need that. Then I would really recommend leaving everything else alone. Now, for the amount of MP3 players, we're doing here is this line, the very last one, is what actually plays the file. And I just did rn_file, standing for the random number of the MP3 file. Now, the order you put them on the JQ6500 is the order they will be numbered in. So just remember that. But right here, just leave the one alone because you're going to at least have one. I mean, you wouldn't be building this if you weren't going to put any on there. But then if you put 20 on there, change that to a 20. If you put 10 on there, change this number here to 10. If you put 10 different MP3 sound effects. You could even put music. If you wanted the thing to play music, you could do that. It would work. Remember, and I'll talk about what to use to record the audio here in just a second, but when you save the files, if you're using something else, for a converter or something, if you're not recording your own, you're just using some audio, music or something, save the file to the lowest quality possible, because the player does have storage, but it doesn't have a ton. I was just doing short little audio files of screaming and threatening to sue and, hey, what do you think you're doing, and stuff like that. And I had a ton on there, and I still had room for more. But if you tried to put a whole album on there, it's not going to fit. Just plain and simple is not going to fit. Now, for the software you can use, I will put a link on the web page as well. It's a program, and it's free. It's called Audacity, Audacity. And there's tons and tons of tutorials out there on how to use it. That's what I used. It's 100% free. It's not a trial. I mean, this is 100% free, and this is really good audio editing software. And you can use that to record all. You just need a microphone and your computer. Otherwise, you can use a cell phone to record if you don't have a microphone, and then transfer the file into Audacity, the audio file, because you can download on the app stores free audio recorders if your smartphone does not already have one. It's pretty easy. And that's the Audacity program. That's also how I changed the voice. That high-pitched, squeaky voice, I mean, that was me. I just changed the pitch of it and the speed a little bit. Like, there's all kinds of things. You can distort, echo, reverb. There's a whole list of features for that software. All right. I think this has gone on long enough. Please give me a thumbs up if you stuck around this long. You're obviously planning on building one of these. I'd appreciate a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe. Share this with your friends. I'm sure they'd get a kick out of it. If you build one of these on the web page, there will be a link to the Facebook page. I'll probably, if I remember, I'll put a link to the Facebook page for this channel in the video description below as well. Send a picture, and I'll post it on there of your build of this. So, all right. Oh, and also the sketch. So I don't forget, you can find that on the website as well. It's 100% free download. You can get the schematic. Everything's there. So thanks for joining us today. Have a great day and have fun building.